Y'all? It's Crew, also known as Araneae Storm, checking in for the Uranian series. I am your Cosmic Rootwork astrologist, specializing in Mars activations as well as North and South Node consultations. So if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can hit me up at araneastorm.wix.com/info, and you can also find me on all social media at Araneae Storm. Alright, my tapestries is on deck in the shop, my Papyrus paper is on deck, my motherfucking bottles is on deck, you feel me? So if you would like to support the kid, definitely go and hit me up. All those links below. Shout out to y'all for supporting me, everybody who supported. And also, I didn't mention this in the last video, but you could also check out the Patreon. I will have content up and dropping next week, okay, around the time of the Pisces new moon. So you could definitely start checking that out next week. I know I've said it before, go check out the Patreon. I was just trying to get y'all in there, but right now, content wise, we're going to be dropping March 13th, all right? I will probably be making a commercial about it and stuff like that, or just to update videos with some of the things that we'll be talking about. We'll be going into depth. So the stuff that you don't see on YouTube, you will definitely be able to find on Patreon. So y'all make sure y'all go check that out. Let's get into it nonetheless. Uranus and Scorpio. What is Uranus and Scorpio? Well, first of all, let's talk about the planet Uranus, which is ruled over Aquarius. This is Aquarian energy, the electrifying shock, the change. Here, you know, change that can go, okay, one day I woke up like this, the next day I woke up like this, okay? This is the, you know, scientist, the alchemist, the future forward, future thinking, progressive state of mind, the upper echelon, the ascended master, it says Uranus, okay? Technology, you know, the internet, the transportation, moving from one place to another, you feel me? The collective, the humanitarianism, the collective consciousness, okay, when we talk about Uranian energy. So when you have Scorpio here, okay, things can get real nasty, all right? This can get real nasty, all right? This is, I don't know why, tonight, if you want to come with me, do you think I'm a nasty girl? Tonight, if you want to go with me, do you think I'm a nasty girl? Nasty girl. That's what I think when I think of Uranus and Scorpio. And y'all this is the first generation I actually channeled music for. But Uranus and Scorpio was like, very like, oh, I haven't tried it, but I'll try it. You know what I mean? This was the energy that played out, the cycle that played out September 9th. 1975 to February 17th, 1981. So middle 70s, early 80s. All right, very interesting time, from the froze and those to like the retro, no grade. All right, so the first thing I thought of was Dragon Ball Z. Y'all know me. Everybody that knows me knows I love anime. First thing I thought about Dragon Ball Z was the Kame. Okay, that Goku shit. It's the first thing that I thought about when I thought about this energy. It's very much so pushing, you know, when we talk about the status quo, because Uranus challenges the status quo. Scorpio is not afraid to challenge the status quo. It wants to push you into something different. It's fixed water, but it's still like really comfortable with like pushing your fucking buttons. All right, pushing those little things. You know, feel me? So breaking down, this is an energy that's very consistent in how it feels, consistent in how it thinks. And when I say consistency, it's very strong. This is also Mars ruled energy, Pluto, but Mars ruled energy. Uranus is shocking you, electrifying you. Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of shit. You feel me? This is also the sexual revolution, you know, because Uranus is also the revolution. This is the sexual revolution. You know, one thing that I hear about this generation is they always like, I mean, I wanted to try it once. I just wanted to try it once. I just need to try it one time to see what happens. You know, Scorpio's not afraid to try things at least one time just to see if the shit works. And if the shit sticks, Scorpio will go at that shit. The Scorpio will continue to go at that shit and go at that shit and go at that shit until it hits its mark. You feel me? So this is definitely hidden occult knowledge amongst groups, and I put Rootwork in parentheses because this is when people started to uncover and really get in touch with their spiritual self. You know, Scorpio rules the occult. Scorpio rules that hidden language, that hidden knowledge, the keepers. underground energy, going beyond the surface level, and getting and digging and pulling things up. This was that generation that did that. Very much so connected spiritually, learning about spirituality, learning about the occult and the occult knowledge, spirits, getting connected back to the root, getting connected back to the center, was Uranus and Scorpio. They did a damn good job of it. All right. Now, this is also the energy of sudden deaths, because Uranus is very shocking and sudden. Scorpio is death. It rules death. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of, and this is also that during the AIDS epidemic as well. This was like right around the time that the AIDS epidemic hit. So there was like a pandemic that came out and killed all these people. You know, this is when they called the homosexual agenda. You feel me? This was agenda to attach to a group, a powerful group, you know. And this just wasn't with the gay rights movement, but there was a lot of gays in the Black Panther Party too. That's a whole nother conversation. A majority of the people in the Black Panther Party were, you know, let's just be real. You know, y'all treaded on the side over here too. You feel me? So this was that time of like sudden death. You know, people, this was a time of, and I'm not laughing about sudden death, y'all. I'm not laughing about the AIDS epidemic either. It was interesting how the AIDS epidemic targeted a certain group of people, because this group of people started to gain traction for the movements that were literally changing the world. So when the Uranus and Scorpio came in, there was an agenda to kill off and to separate these organizations and these affiliate links and things like that. This is right before the crack epidemic was a thing too. So there was so many things that were trying to pull this Uranus and Libra generation apart, which was the AIDS epidemic. So a lot of things that were like on a high, you know, on the ball, rolling, moving through. And that's not to say that everything dwindled down. There was other things that sparked off of this generation too. But they kind of started to die off. They kind of started to kind of dwindle in a sense. But then they kind of researched, like, as we moved into later in the 80s and stuff like that, where people were like, oh shit, this is going on, this is happening. This is like love and death, sex and death, passionate, very passionate group of people, very passionate, fatal attraction as well. Where people were a lot of serial killers. You know, I hate to be so morbid, but Scorpio can be a very morbid energy when we're talking about death. But there were like a lot of fatal attractions as well. You know, Uranus and Libra, we had people who were divorcing, right? Uranus and Scorpio, we had people who were like, okay, I want to love freely. I want to do my thing. I want to try some things. So there was a lot of juices being thrown around, okay? A lot of juices being thrown around. A lot of this over here, this over there, trying this over here. You know, Scorpio's also obsession, getting very obsessed, getting intrigued, obsessed, stalking energy. So there was a lot of quick, not only just with the AIDS epidemic, but there was a lot of quick, it wasn't just fatal attraction of death of passion. I think that's what they call it, where there was just passionate, you know, people were just killing off of passion and obsession. You feel me? So this was that era and that energy too, where there was a lot of not only talk, but shows and things like that had to do with people just killing off of being obsessive with someone else. You feel me? Was the late 80s. Also the late 80s, the early 80s was like the start of this retro kind of elevator music type of, you know, aura, whatever energy. There was a lot of people who were focused on the creative arts. There was a lot of bands that formed together musically. Scorpio is a very musically charged sign. So, you know, this was when a lot of, you know, music has been a thing since the beginning of time. So I'm not saying that there wasn't music coming before. There was a lot of dope music in the 70s, 60s, 50s. There's been music, and music has been a thing. But the type of music that we were listening to from the 70s, that was kind of like, you know, drug infused, but like, we're still here. We party until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. because I'm off cocaine. You know what I mean? This was the energy that was like, we're still here, still here, still here, you know what I mean? We're still here. It was that kind of energy, you feel me? Even hip-hop music had changed when we got to the 80s as well, you feel me? It was the 80s, 70s, late 70s. Actually, at this particular moment is when hip-hop music was birthed, you feel me? It's when hip-hop music was birthed. All right, in the 70s, late 70s was when hip-hop music first made its reign, okay? Motherfuckers thought that shit was never going to last, okay? Because what hip-hop music did, it was talking about what the fuck was happening in the fucking streets, okay? Scorpio was uncovering that shit. This is what's going on in the streets. This is what we're dealing with. This is what we're up against, and now let's bring it to the world. And they talked down on hip-hop music. They said that they would never make it even 5 years, and it ended up literally changing the entire scope of the world. Okay, so shout out to hip-hop, you feel me? So creative energy, willpower to get the message out, willpower to communicate like our deepest thoughts and emotions and feelings through music was played a big part, big major role. You know, it was like our therapy. When you couldn't afford therapy, or when you couldn't go to somebody and get, you know, the psychic help that you needed, because, you know, or psychic help that you needed, or you couldn't go see a psychologist or a therapist, hip hop music, whatever, even if it wasn't hip hop, that was the way that you processed your emotion, was through music. You feel me? This was also fixed to a fault. I put here too. Uranus wants to, it can be very erratic in energy, so it wants to kind of break things up. And then once it kind of break things up, Scorpio kind of pulls it in and just kind of reins it through. Inner rebel, I put inner rebel, Mars and Pluto here. You know, this was the natural inner rebel that started to fester in people because they were starting to really truly come into it was a little different from the 60s than it was. And I'm not saying that there wasn't any violence in the 60s, but it came from this more peace lens, this peaceful lens, kind of like, oh, let's just all get along. Let's all get together. This time period was a little bit more militant, okay? Because we're talking about Mars here. This time period was very militant. And what they believed in, how they was coming, how they was standing, what you was going to do, what you wasn't going to do. Very protective in that way, in that manner, all right? This is also when we started to see not only the psyche and the mind, but it was through film. Like, people started to produce film works and not only just music, but different film works, documentaries that were talking about the lives and the things that were happening at this time. You feel me? So digging into the psyche, digging deep into the psyche, changing the minds and the perspectives of those around you. You know, it was definitely that time. Scorpio, Uranus and Scorpio was that energy. And it literally, this particular time, I mean, along with the 60s, but specifically this particular time, literally changed the course of the entire world. I mean, all of them do, but specifically this energy right here changes the course of the entire world, especially when hip-hop dropped. So shout out to Uranus and Scorpio for hip-hop, you feel me? And everything else that y'all put into form, everything else that y'all kicked off for the rest of us and the rest of the generations. We still look to you and we still appreciate you for that. So that is my summary of Uranus and Scorpio. We're going to be moving on to Uranus and Sagittarius, and we're going to be closing it out this week with Uranus and Pisces. All right, so you already know what it is. Yo.